Just the start of the news review, and joining me this morning virtually, both my guests. We have Kojo Poku. He's an energy analyst. He also is head of the MPP's Energy Committee. He can correct me if I am wrong, and that is as far as the Dr. Bawumia campaign is concerned. And then we have Dr. Wisdom Kofi Dogbe. He's a financial analyst. Both of them joining me this morning. Gentlemen, Ndi Mawache, good morning.
Also,
good morning.
I am well from here. We try.
In the Kufuado's Ghana, we are trying. Not be like some people who day outside. We all day here.
Oh, I added something. If you had paid attention, you would have heard me. I said,
some of us where we did the country inside.
I am well here in the Kufuado's Ghana under the circumstances.
Yes.
Under the circumstances. I mean, you are not a big man, so no wahala. Anyway, your bow tie crash shows that you are a big man. But anyway, we get into we get into our 1 minute slots. Gentlemen, let's keep the time. 1 minute, maximum 1 minute, 20 seconds. What's on your mind that you'd like to share with us this morning? I'll start with you, Kojo.
Well, Ben, the unfortunate news that came up sometime Thursday, Friday about this strike by the organized labor, I think is a big hypocrisy, right? I think a lot of people should take a look at the SNIT board. How is it that on the SNIT board, government only has 5 representatives? Organized labor with Employers Association and Pension Association has 2. So the independent, aside government, is 6. Government only has 5. Anything that goes to the board, if these 6 people do not want it passed, they can basically vote against it. So I was surprised to see, what's his name? Teachers Union. Right? And I've always said that teachers union, for me, for some, I think that they just love to go on strike because everything they will not come and say, oh, canceling the deal is not good enough. We want to see the board and the MD side. The board is made up of you. The board is made up of 6 of independents, which is the organized labor, teachers association, and pension association. So why are we trying to pull a wool over Ghanaians' eyes to make it look like it is government that is influencing this when you, the organized labor, has the power representative on the board to stop this from going forward? We will end it there. I think this thing will come up again and we'll continue.
All right. I will just say this, though, the composition. I actually thought it was 7 if you added all, apart from those appointed by government. But some things purportedly were done on their blind side, which is why Mashoud, for example, a researcher into pensions and all of that, says that they should have more research done into things. They should be forthcoming, project before some of these things happen. But once they got wind of it, they said this was a no-no, and I don't know what you're referencing, because on the board, they then expressed their disagreement up until, you know, the recent kind of... I allowed you to make your comments. Yeah, I'm just reacting, and then you can come back in.
So I need to correct it.
No, I could have corrected some of what you were making. I allowed you. Let me finish, then you add.
But you are making an assertion which is wrong, so I need to correct it.
What assertion is that?
There are 6 of them on the board. There are 6 of them on the board. They cannot just complain. They can vote against it. The government representative are 5. They are 6.
When it came to the point,
against it.
I am not disputing. I am not disputing that. I'm saying that when it came to the point where they had to express an opinion, which is what voting is, they did.
So how come it came up then? If they voted against it, how come it came up?
Have you forgotten when they expressed their disdain for this project at a meeting, and Elizabeth Ohene, the board chair, was fuming and all of that? Did you not follow that?
Okay, Ben.
Did you not follow that, Kojo?
Ben, I'm sure this thing will come up again. Let's go on so that we don't waste time. We'll discuss it.
And I think it was unfortunate what you said. I don't know whether you'd retract that some of the teachers' unions, and you say the teachers, it appears they just want to go on strike. They are always excited to go on strike. I don't know whether they would like that kind of statement. I don't think it's fair to them to say that.
I don't think I like that either, because at the end of the day, why would they threaten to go on? Listen, a deal was on the table, right? The deal was that everybody said that this deal shouldn't go to Brian. Then Brian withdrew, which is the Rock City withdrew. Then there's a letter. I don't know whether that letter is fake or real, but if that letter is real, then it's unfortunate because you don't go further to say that the board should be sacked when the board is made up of you. That is a hypocrisy.
Well, that should also tell you that they are willing to bear the brunt of whatever as well. But Wisdom, your thoughts? Anything you'd like to touch on?
Ben, let me segue a little bit and talk about something different, right? When it comes to the upcoming mid-year budget review, I am curious to learn more about the nation's fiscal performance for the first half of the year.
Okay.
For a nation that is trying to be fiscally responsible, in a bid to improve inflation metrics and other economic performance metrics. So I would like to see this mid-year budget review as an opportunity, to assess the progress that is made towards achieving our fiscal targets and what the government intends to do to make the necessary spending recalibrations to achieve our spending goals. I will specifically be looking to see if we are still planning to spend more than we are getting in terms of revenue mobilization. Are we on track with expense management? And what are we doing to meet our deficit reduction targets? And I also hope to hear more on the analysis of the nation's economic performance, right? Including factors such as the GDP growth and inflation rate, and also employment levels, especially youth employment, among other key metrics. I think that this review will help Ghanaians to know, right, if the government is indeed serious about fiscal discipline, because the review will tell us what adjustments are being made in terms of revenue and also expenditure projections. And I'll also be looking to hear more about, any potential policy changes or reforms that aim to instill fiscal discipline in government spending. I mean, how are we streamlining expenditures, right? For instance, are we still going to be budgeting about 2 million cedis to the office of the president without much detail on what the funds will be used for? And lastly, I'll be looking forward to the finance minister leveraging this review as a platform to provide very blunt and transparent assessment of the government performance in managing our public finances.
You say very blunt. I don't know what to expect on that front. But when you spoke about youth unemployment, something that came to mind. For the first 3 quarters of 2023, youth unemployment stood at a staggering, and when I say youth, I'm looking at the age bracket between 15 and 35, 14.7%. Analysts will say that it has even shot up further, and that is the working population. What was even more revealing was that if you looked at those details, women were more susceptible than men by quite a percentage, and it had moved from around 1.2 million to 1.3 million. You add that to what IMF World Bank data has told us about those who have fallen into multidimensional poverty since, the last 2 years thereabouts, and it's pretty problematic. So I would be as interested as you are to know what the developments have been. But let's quickly get into the papers now, starting with the Daily Graphic newspaper. Accra Kumasi Road, Galamsey impedes 3 bypass constructions. Organized labor calls off strike. 1.9 million youth idle. No work, no training, no education. That's according to a Ghana Statistical Service report. Almost 100,000 shy of 2 million. Nothing to do. No work, no training, no education. Virtual InfoSec, now Tier 1 cybersecurity solutions provider. Gamanche seeks support to empower youth. On the back page, repair work on Kojo Ashong Bailey Bridge completed. And this, I can't even count the number of people who have reached out to me on this bridge and those in other places. But it's good to hear that at least this one has seen a facelift. And let me start from there. Repair works on the 36-meter Bailey Steel Bridge connecting Kojo Ashong and Otuplem in the Gan West municipality have been completed ahead of schedule, and the bridge will be reopened to traffic. This was disclosed to the Greater Accra Regional Minister, Mr. Titus Glover, when he visited the project site last Saturday to ascertain the progress of work. He was accompanied by the Gan West Municipal Chief Executive, Mr. Clement Wilkinson, and the New Patriotic Party's parliamentary candidate for the Amasaman constituency, Yaya Kasim Atta. Recently, after a working visit to inspect the bridge and roads, The Minister of Roads and Highways, Francis Asenso-Boakye, announced the reassignment of the Amasaman 3 Junction to Kojo Ashong Road project to a new contractor. So that's the first story. But let's get into the major issue, the banner headline. 1.9 million youth idle, no work, no training, no education. Almost 2 million youth in the country are not in education, employment, or training, the Ghana Statistical Service has found. Its annual household income and expenditure survey indicates that in the third quarter of last year, 1.9 million youth in the country, and I was even looking at a previous figure. Now, if you look at this one, 1.9 million. So you see the increment. 1.9 million youth in the country aged 15 to 35 were NEET, that is, without education, employment, or training. Females constituted predominantly 1.2 million of the youth not in education, employment, or training, compared with 715,691 males. Now, the number, however, represents a significant decline in the numbers as compared to the same period the previous year. In comparison with quarter 3 last year, with the same period in 2022, NEET fell by 5.9% from 24.1 to 18.2%. In all, the number of youth NEET decreased by almost 500,000 over the period. Now, if you look at it, economists are cautioning. In spite of the drop in the numbers, 2 other economists have described the development as a warning signal which needs to be addressed urgently, considering the threat it poses to the country. Professor of Finance and Economics at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Godfred Bokpin, and the director of the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, UG, that is Professor Peter Quarter, in separate interviews with the Daily Graphic, said to have about 2 million of the youth not engaged in employment was not only a threat to national security, but one that could affect real growth rate of the economy. I just had to get details, in-depth details of this story, because I can't even give the breakdown according to regions, but you can get those details from the paper. I had to go there because it is technical. I'll start with you, Wisdom, on your reflection on these 2 stories. The steel bridge, if you want to talk about it, but mainly on the 1.9 million youth who are idling away in Ghana.
Ben, that number is very frightening. I think that both His Excellency, former President Mahama and Dr. Bawumia, they've talked about one of the very serious challenges that confront our nation, the issue of youth unemployment. And solving for this youth unemployment has been quite elusive, for the last few years. Look, our leaders must admit that they have failed the youth when it comes to talent development and employment. I like President Mahama's 24-hour economy policy a lot, because I believe it's going to be a game changer and it will create many, many jobs, especially for the youth. And I also like Dr. Bawumia's digitization agenda, because really the statistics show that the youth are more creative and they have a tendency for innovation, right? Both of these policy proposals from the 2 flag bearers are promising. Oh yes, and I nearly forgot this. Former President Mahama also proposed exporting talents to solve the unemployment crisis, and all of this could also help solve the menace. The problem is that the youth have been promised by these potential flag bearers, right, these politicians, several times, and some of them are still without jobs, as reported in the story. So I think that we are past the promising phase, and the youth need some real action to address the unemployment struggles because of what is going on in the country. They don't take them seriously, in my opinion. We need policies that will stimulate economic activity across board and create jobs. Monetary and fiscal measures, right, that will reduce inflation and strengthen the city so that the businesses have the flexibility to invest in expansion, which creates jobs, right, Ben? And also favorable trade policies, investment in critical infrastructure, and financial sector reforms, and investment in the right education, and also skill development, and support for SMEs, Ben. It is very important that we take this very seriously. And let me stress a bit more on the SME support, because government alone cannot solve the unemployment problem, but they can support the SMEs in several ways and empower the private sector to create jobs.
All right. Any quick thoughts, Kojo?
Well, quick thoughts. Oh, Ben, how can this be quick thoughts? Look, some of the things that I want these things to look at in depth is that when somebody come up with the statistics that include 15 to 35-year-olds, You know, Ben, when my worry is that 15 to at least 20 is still education years. So when the unemployed youth starts from 15, don't you think it will have ballooned this number to a certain amount that is not realistic?
Those are always the metrics that are used. It's not that it is now starting.
But when we talk about unemployed, the percentage of that 1.9 will be in school. Because if you're looking at 1.9, which starts from 15, at least from 15 to 21, we know that the school-going age. So out of that 1.9 million, a chunk of that will be school-going age. But let's put that aside. One of the things that everybody should know that has helped reduce this number is the free senior high school. Now, you realize that this NEET, no education, I think with the free senior high school, the no education at the secondary level has reduced. So you realize that the number of people that are without education now with FQ and free senior high school is now going down. The other thing you should look at is that this is the government that has spent more money on TVET, and there is a lot of initiatives in the Ghana Enterprise Agency. Now, I beg the youth who are watching us, and Ben, you can probably do other shows to probably drum this home. If you are at home and not working, please explore TVET. Because this government has spent a lot of money in TVET facilities and TVET education. So it's very important that the youth, you see, everybody is looking to go into immigration, police, military. It's not the best way. TVET, the training, the skill training is what will lift this country out of where it is. So I beg the youth at home that if you are home and you fall under this NEET category, where you are unemployed, the no education, TVET will still help you with education, okay? So if you're at a certain age, you couldn't go to senior high school, please explore the TVET. The other thing I want to say to the graduates who are at home and still looking for government work, like I said, the YEA, the Ghana Enterprise Agency, that agency now has a lot of support from world organizations in supporting to bring out the youth from idleness. So I'm begging everybody, and Ben, like I said, you can help us to do that. But the statistics, yes, there is youth unemployment, but that number in great part would have been made up of people who are still within education.
All right. Thank you for those thoughts. I'm sure you do know that a lot of these young people who are even schooling, I see a lot more of them working nowadays who are probably even less than 15. They shouldn't be working, but they are. But of course, the CTVET, I agree, it's doing great things, and would that we could do more with it. I've always said that no country develops without technical education. You go to Germany, you go to Norway, you go to many of these places, and that is what pertains. We have somehow not found a way of making it build our economy, but hopefully someday we shall. Before I go on the international front, let me just do this. Gamanche seeks support to empower youth, and the Gamanche Ni Taki Teiko True II has extended an invitation to organizations to partner the Ghana state in its development agenda to create opportunities for the youth to develop their skills and talent to reduce unemployment in the city. He said this had become a major priority of the Ghana state, for which reason his outfit had established a business desk to leverage corporate social responsibility in areas such as education, health, and businesses, among others, to support the people. I'm tying this into the story that we just read. Then, Afenyo Markin calls for radical reforms of ECOWAS Parliament. He's calling for radical reforms to reinforce the capacity of the bloc's parliament to meet the aspirations of the citizenry. On the international front, let me just... Oh, there's also this one. 12th Atta Mills Memorial Lecture, July 19. A wonderful leader gone too soon. A wonderful leader that many could emulate in terms of his ethical and moral leadership. Who the cap fits, let them wear it. I was saved by luck or God, Trump says, and the assassin or the shooter killed. This story got my attention on page 7. Toddler's death must prick our conscience. It's an editorial. You can check it out on page 7 of the newspaper. And it talks about just last week, tragedy hitting Seshi, Accra, in the western region, where the lifeless body of a 3-year-old girl was found in an illegal mining pit. A stark reminder of what Galamsey is doing to all of us. Then, serial killer arrested after bodies found in Kenya dump. Kenyans have arrested a man whom they have described as a serial killer suspected to have been behind the gruesome murder of 9 women whose mutilated bodies were found in a disused quarry used as a rubbish dump. His name is Jomaisi Halisia. He's 33, and he confessed to having killed 42 women since 2022, including his own wife. It's really sad, tying it into what has been happening in the northern belt of our country, Wa and beyond. And then Rwandans vote to extend Kagame's rule. Rwandans lined up yesterday to elect their next president, with incumbent Paul Kagame widely expected to win a 4th term and extend his near quarter century in charge of the East African country. There are 2 people standing against him: Frank Habineza from the Democratic Green Party and independent Philippe Mpayimana. And they were hoping to make some progress. Quick reflections, and we move on to the next paper. I'll start with you, Kojo.
Well, I want to go on to the issues of the death. I think it's unfortunate. I have always said that the Ghana Police Service should have a plainclothes CID. Look, the only way to prevent some of these things is to have embedded security. When you have plainclothes security operating in some of these communities, you're able to have intelligence to basically foresee, forestall, and stop some of these.
What do you mean by plainclothes policemen? I get the point you're making. There are police officers even wearing garb, working in these places. They see, they don't do anything. Is it the plainclothes that will change something?
No, hold on. Intelligence is important. To combat any menace, you need intelligence. And gathering of intelligence is not done by people wearing uniform. Okay, gathering of intelligence in every society, in every country, is done by plainclothes security forces. What I'm saying is that we should have more of that in the country so that they are embedded in some of these communities. Look, the best intelligence in this country is Biaba and Kobo. When you go sit at the Biaba, everybody sits there and talk anyhow, because you will pick up so many things in this country. This is a country where nobody has filter. People sit and brag about things they do. So if plainclothes security is embedded in communities, we will stop a lot of these things that are ongoing. We will get a lot of intelligence in terms of security. On the issue of...
And it will curb the Galamsey? Is that what you're relating it to, or something else?
It will, listen, if even Galamsey, people who partake in Galamsey sit at Biaba and talk about it. Now, if you have intelligence of who are doing Galamsey, you don't have to go to the field to see them doing Galamsey. You actually hear them talk about it. You gather intelligence, and you know who is doing Galamsey. Those intelligence are very important. Look, man, going forward, we've said that there's 2 ways of curbing Galamsey. One, Galamsey now, we need to now look at how do we bring everybody into a formalized small scale. But then there's still going to be that menace of people who are going to perpetuate that illegality. That is where I said that security intelligence will help you know who is involved in legality. In every illegality in this country, intelligence, security intelligence will help you gather those people doing it. Even before. In the UK, you see that they are mourning their dawn raids. These dawn raids happen in the UK not because they caught them doing it. These dawn raids happen in the UK because that's the intelligence. They gather, and by 4, 5 a.m., you are home, they pick you up. They wouldn't even allow you to go and do these things before they pick you. But let me go on to the Trump issue. It's unfortunate that we had a sitting president, a former president, who was giving a speech and there was an attempt on his life. There's an investigation ongoing. There's a lot of conspiracies out there. There's quite a number of things that people are saying on social media and also in the mainstream media. I think we should all hold our peace and then basically reserve our comments until an official report comes out.
Wisdom, your take.
Ben, my thoughts and prayers are with the folks that died in the Galamsey pit, the little child. That is a really call to the nation. We need to understand that this menace is not just destroy the forest and the water bodies. We have elected officials that, in my opinion, they don't have a lot of appetite to resolve this issue. They talk about it all the time, but what is the progress that we've seen? Anyway, on the Trump issue, right, I think that it's appalling that someone actually tried to assassinate a former president of the United States. And I think it's a huge security gap on the part of the U.S. Secret Service and it should be a teachable moment for them. Look, the country is too polarized right now with too much violent rhetoric, but I think we should rise above the kind of violence that we are seeing now and rather settle our political differences at the ballot box and not at the battlefield with bullets flying all over the place. You know, my thoughts and prayers go to the family of the firefighter who lost his life and to all those who were wounded and also impacted in one way or the other in the senseless attack. And of course, we should be praying for the protection and recovery of President Trump and his family. I don't like his politics, right? And I don't like his character. But there is absolutely no place in our democracy for violence. And that's why I like the remarks from our former presidents, Bill Clinton, Obama, George Bush, and also President Biden condemning this attack, that no matter our differences, right, we have to treat each other with grace and with decency and kindness and empathy and a united force against all forms of hate. I'll tell you this quickly. This attempted assassination not only threatens former President Trump's life, right, but it also seriously undermines American values of freedom and democracy that this nation actually holds dear. I think it's an assault on the democratic process and the rule of law. And I hope that the FBI and the security agencies involved, they will conclude the investigations quickly and will get to understand what drove the shooter. Right. You would think that after the 1963 assassination of President Kennedy, right, this will be a thing of the past. But this tells us that we are a very long way away from that moment because of the kind of rhetoric that people keep spewing out these days.
All right. Thank you. We're going to wrap shortly. I'll do a few stories and then we'll head out. The Daily Guide newspaper. Police invite A+ to assist in Ahmed Suale's murder probe. You know, in recent times, we heard him suggest that he knew who the killers were and what had happened. Bawumia promises are real. That's according to the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. NDC blocks bauxite and lithium deals. 2 mining lease agreements meant to be laid in Parliament for consideration by the House have been met with eye-rolling disengagement and aversion tactics by the NDC. That's how the Daily Guide couches it. But of course, we know what their reasons are, and it led to a standoff in Parliament yesterday. Brian Achampong unveils $3.2 million infrastructure project for farmers. I'll just give you a little bit of that story. And the Minister of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Brian Achampong, has officially handed over the Emergency Support to Rural Livelihoods and Food Systems, that is the ESRF, infrastructure projects and food processing equipment to beneficiary communities across the country at a ceremony at Tojinu in the Volta region. This milestone marks a major step in the government's efforts to transform Ghana's agricultural sector into a thriving and competitive industry. But I keep saying, one thing we seem to be oblivious to: food sufficiency and food security are not the same thing. I think our technical people should learn more about that, because if you have food sufficiency, it doesn't necessarily translate into food security. That is why the prices of items are still high. The New Finder adds, SSNIT paid pensioners 19.4 billion Ghana cedis from 25.2 billion Ghana cedis collected, or benefits collected in 5 years, leaving a positive balance of 5.7 billion Ghana cedis in financial resilience. Ayo. Organized labor seeks engagement with SSNIT after calling off a strike. And the final one, Economy Times. You can pick one or two at most, gentlemen. Customers' complaints to Bank of Ghana drop sharply. Ghana's credit rating to be upgraded after Eurobond exchange. That's Moody's hinting. And then Bank of Ghana auctions $120 million in Forex in Q3 of 2024. Wisdom, I'll start with you this time. You can pick a maximum of 2 issues, wrap up with them quickly, and then I'll do Kojo Poku, then we're gone.
Well, let me spend the time on this one issue as far as the SSNIT hotels are concerned, right? It's a good thing that they called off the strike because eventually they got what they're looking for. But I was very disappointed when I read that the National Pensions Regulatory Authority had cleared SSNIT, right, to proceed with the sale in the first place. But I must admit that the response from the public services workers, their strike is what actually eventually compelled Rock City Hotel, to withdraw their bid and SSNIT's meaningless announcement that followed. Ghanaians have demonstrated in this matter, Ben, that there is strength in our collective force and we can save our nation from our corrupt officials if we act together in unity. Now, let's put the right people in seat, right, with the requisite expertise to turn these hotels around and make them profitable. And maybe a change in the board at SSNIT might also help in terms of making sound business decisions. Look, this case and any other instance of state capture, these things are wrong. They are clear cases of conflict of interest. And the optics just don't look right. Ben, with all due respect, right, to my brother Kojo, he said the other time that conflict of interest is not a crime. And he was, I believe he was insinuating that we should overlook conflict of interest in the sale of the state properties to party faithfuls and also to government officials.
Right.
Because it is not illegal. Look, in all due respect, my opinion is that Ghanaians should run away from politicians and leaders who would condone any form of conflict of interest because they think it is illegal. It creates ethical dilemmas and definitely raises questions about fairness and transparency and integrity and accountability, Ben.
All right. Wisdom, thank you for those thoughts. Kojo, on to you. You noticed Ben, that I was cutting him, so when I cut you, don't, because we have limited time. Go ahead.
Well, please, well, quickly, I never said that we should overlook conflict of interest. What I said was that conflict of interest is not a crime. It doesn't mean that we should overlook it. Okay, but I don't want to spend my time because we already dealt in that matter, and I think that matter is being spread out. Conflict of interest is not a crime, and I insist on that. Look, this sale that people say, hold on, let me, please don't come in. When people say that this sale should be stopped, this sale of the SSNIT shares in the Golden Beach hotels has been ongoing since 2013. There was a company called Exquisite Consulting. Ben, if you have not seen the report, I'll send the report to you.
Did a sale happen? Did a sale happen?
Yeah, no, they didn't get anybody. There were only 3 bidders.
I'm sure if it had come up, the likes of you and the likes of me would have gone again, railed against that deal. It happened this time, and we went against it.
Ben, let me finish. In 2013, this exercise was attempted. Only 3 companies. The exercise was done by Exquisite Consulting, Golden Beach, Golden Tulip, right? Legacy Consulting, South Africa firm who manages Labadi, and some other company were the only 3 companies that came forward and interested in the 3 Busia Beach, La Palm, and Elmina Beach resort. Nobody is interested in those facilities. Now, let me say something to organized labor. I pay for pension. Everybody pays for pension. SSNIT has made a bad investment in these hotels. So as a result, our pension can go down the drain. What SSNIT is trying to do
I will not allow you to go ahead on that point and say that SSNIT has made bad investments. Labadi Beach is not a bad investment. The South Africans came in and did a good job, handed over to Ghanaians who are taking over. And you point to 2014 or 20...
Sorry, who came in?
South Africans. We brought in South Africans to take care of the Labadi Beach Hotel. They handed over to Ghanaian leadership.
Labadi out. Ben, please leave Labadi out.
Why should I leave Labadi out? Why should I leave Labadi out?
Those are the 3 hotels that they've been trying to sell since 2013. It's never been managed by any South Africans.
Were they trying to sell it to someone in government?
No, it doesn't matter who they're trying to sell it to. When they did come out with a bid, nobody was interested. That is one. Now, let me explain my point. Since SSNIT has gotten our pensions into a bad investment since 1999, SSNIT never intended to own these hotels 100%. It was a vehicle between 2 companies, SSNIT and other company. That company couldn't go forward, so now SSNIT is holding these investments. Our pension are stuck in those 3 hotels. SSNIT wants its money back. Now, everybody, since 2013, is trying to get SSNIT to now offload these hotels so that we will get our pension money back. Now, we are at the stage where organized labor on the board. Let me finish.
You have to wrap.
Organized labor that sit on the board is now trying to make it look like, oh, no, we are not part of this decision in trying to get our pension back, but somebody is trying to do something dubious. How is that? We need those hotels sold so that we get our pension back. If not, our pension is stuck.
All right. Thank you very much. What I don't understand, and I believe most Ghanaians don't understand, if you've been able to get the South Africans to come in, if they've waved a magic wand, done their abracadabra, and Labadi Beach Hotel, in fact, when the Ghanaians took over, they are doing way better than the South Africans, like we've done with Free SHF, where we had model schools. If You have a model. Why don't you replicate it? Makes no sense to me. But thank you, gentlemen, for having joined the conversation. Wisdom Kofi Dogbe is a financial analyst. Kojo Poku is an energy expert. Thank you, gentlemen.